So I've learned how to play my worship song, but it sounds very basic. What do I do next? How do I spice it up? How do I make it sound more musically interesting, more memorable? How do I give it a unique character and color? Well, I think there's a number of ways you can do that. I think you can vary your rhythms, your licks and runs, your range, your dynamic. I think you can add chord substitutions, voicings, and chord modifications. Intuition combines all those different things to create a unique style of playing and serve the song, serve the moment, and highlight the truth that's being presented. We're not going to get into all that right now, but I would like to get into chord modifications. So this is just simply one step of what you can vary to give interest to your playing, smooth out your chord changes, achieve a certain mood, and help you achieve a unique sound. So here are some suggestions of how to modify the most common chords to give endless variety to your playing choices. So let's take C major as a case study. C, E, G, C major chord. I'm going to add a C in the bass here. So C, E, G, C major. Very simple, very vanilla. It works. It's not wrong. Whatever song you're playing, there's your chord. Okay, but let's talk about what we can modify it with to give it some more character, some more flavor. So let's say we want to play a C2. In that case, C, E, G becomes C, D, E, G. And now all of a sudden, I'll turn this up, we've got more character, more color, more feel to our playing. I think this has a warm sound. I think it draws you in. It kind of glues things together. It can sound kind of sentimental. Now, I'm not talking about voicings, rhythms, or anything. I'm just talking about the flavor of the chord. C2. There's a regular C. There's C2. It's just a different feel. Now, you could also do C2, no 3. That sounds a little bit more cold, but it's very versatile. And then that's with the third again. So there's options. Okay, let's talk about a C5. How would you use a C5? So in this case, instead of C, E, G, it's just C and G. Now that right there, that says to me possibilities. This could be a C major chord. It could be a C minor chord. We don't know. We're just leaving the possibilities open. We're just playing C. You know what song this reminds me of? Worthy is the Lamb who was slain. It just kind of has that real thin, drony. Bagpipes use the 1 and the 5. So anytime you're wanting to drone something, or just kind of set the mood of possibility, you could use a 5, a C5. You could do this to any major chord, but I'm using C again as my case study. Okay, so that's a 5. You might also see it written as 5, no 3. They want to make it really clear that you're playing just the 1 and the 5. Okay, let's talk about a sus chord. So C, E, G becomes C, F, G. Now right there, you can rock between a C and a C sus. There's the intro to like 60% of worship songs. How I long to breathe the air of heaven. Okay, you could go, the 1 to the 1 sus is like your most common chord change. Again, you could use other major chords. You could do this on the 5 chord. You don't hear it on the 4 chord as much, unless you're playing like a more of a country feel. Country will often do the 4 chord to a 4 sus. Like kind of that old style, old gospel. Okay, so that's a 4. Now, with the 4, or with the sus rather, you could also have a 4. You could have like C4. In that case, C, E, G becomes C, E, F, G. Ooh, listen to that. There's like a mystery there, like an unsettledness. Where I hear this a lot is on the 5 chord. So if I'm in the key of C, the reign of darkness now has ended. So that's a G, B, C, and D. That is a G4, or you could also see it as a G add 4. It's not quite a G sus because we still have the third in there. G4, G add 4. That's nice. I'm gonna invert that. The reign of darkness now has ended in the kingdom of light. So there we have that. 4, add 4. It's just a really, really crunchy way to play a 5 chord in particular. Sometimes you'll hear it on the 1. More often I hear it on the 5. I don't ever hear this on the 4. But it's an option. It's an option, especially of how to play your 5 chord. Okay, let's talk about 6 chords. Not very common, but technically possible. Again, that country gospel. That's just C to C6. Probably won't see that in a modern CCM song unless there's just a specific harmony that calls for that voicing. Again, little voicing adjustments, little modifications to these chords. You're not changing the structure of your song. You're just adding now a mood, a color, a feel, a flavor to that chord. And you could really use that to your advantage to highlight certain lyrics. Okay. 7 chord. This would be a dominant 7th. So C, E, G becomes C, E, G, B flat. Not a super common sound, although occasionally you will hear it. Where does that want to go? It wants to resolve. Unless we're talking about gospel or jazz, in which case you have dominant 7 chords just stacked on each other. Great example of this. Because he lives, I can face tomorrow. Because he lives, all fear is gone. Because I know he holds the future, and life is worth the living just because he lives. What was that? And life is worth E7, A7, D7, G. So that was like dominant 7, dominant 7, dominant 7, right in a row. E7 resolves very nice to A7, resolves very nice to D7, which resolves very nice to G. And if you think about your circle of fifths, E is the dominant of A, which is the dominant of D, which is the dominant of G. So occasionally you will see those. Now, I'm not going to get into crazy gospel jazz extensions, but that's one that you could see, particularly in some of the hymns. You could see some dominant 7ths stacked up like that. And it's just nice to know you have options of where you want to go with these. You're doing anything a little more gospel-y, you got a little organ going on, you're going to want to make use of those 7ths. Major 7. So you might see this as M-A-J and then a 7, or you might see this as just a big M with a 7, okay? This is C, E, G, and then we're going to add a B natural, and that's the major 7. How do we know it's major? It comes from the major scale. All right, when would you use this? Well, a couple different places. You're trying to make something a little more sentimental, you can use the major 7. Excuse me, I played a major 9. We're not there yet. Major 7. All right, I'm just adding a B to a C major chord. But that's nice. It's really nice on the 4 chord. Yeah, that's got a real sentimental feel. Let's see, where would I use this in a song? Elevation has one. You are the only king forever, Almighty God, who lift you higher. So right there, you're singing the major 7 of the 4 chord. Okay, so melody is actually necessitating that this be a major 7 chord. Let's go back to C. So here's C, E, G, and I'm going to make it a major 7 by adding the B, and now I'm going to make it a major 9. There's a D in there, okay? I wouldn't voice it that way, but I'm demonstrating. So how would I voice it? I would probably do it like a C2, and and then I change my C to a B. That's nice. That's one way you could voice that. Voicing is a whole nother topic, but that's nice. You could also do this major 9 on the 4 chord. That's got a really great feel to it. These are major 9 chords. Great song that uses these, Cody Carnes. Oh, Christ be magnified. That's a major 9 chord. Let his praise arise. Christ be magnified in me. Build My Life is another one. So I'm in the key of G now. Holy, holy, there is no one like you. There is none beside you. Open up my eyes in wonder and show me. Okay, so right there, C, E, G, B, D. Show me. The melody here is necessitating that that's at least a C2 because we're singing a D over a C chord. But that sounds kind of empty. I think we need that B. Show me. That gives the flavor to our chord that we're looking for. All right. So these are some ways that you can modify chords. Now, I haven't even talked about modifying minor chords, nor have I talked about how you would combine these modifications with things like inversions, voicing choices, dynamics, range, but I just want to give you an example of how a synthesis of these would work. So let's take a song like Goodness of God. Let's say we started this off very vanilla. I love you, Lord, for your goodness never fails me. I'll learn the words someday, all my days. I'm using 2-note, 3-note voicings, right? Varying the rhythm there. I will sing, just simple though, the goodness. I'm using a restricted range, some simplified voicings. Now let's say we get into the middle of this song, we want to start adding some color. Your goodness is running up. Now I'm using seconds. I'm using a sus, a second, a second, a second, add 4, second, another second, second, that's a 7th, now goodness is second, straight 5, open 5th, sus, okay, what am I doing here? Changing my range. Little lick. Changing inversions, changing rhythms. Changing range again. Adding chord substitutions of the goodness of God. I will sing. Again, chord substitutions. Okay, so adding all these things together, all of a sudden you can have a super unique way of playing. Now, if I played that again, it would be completely different, but that's okay. This is just one way that you could vary up your playing just by taking chord modifications. So what I'd love for you to do is take a song that you've been working on and add some modifications to the major chords in it. Maybe it's a 4 chord and you figure out how to play it as a major 7 or a major 9th. Maybe it's a 1 chord and you add a sus in there. Maybe you've taken and put a 7th in somewhere. Maybe you take it and made it an open 5th. I mean, I just off the top of my head whipped out some of those chord modifications and called them out as I was doing it. This really helps your playing be dynamic, helps it to be different, helps it to be memorable, and helps it not to be boring. So what I think is there's a fine line where you don't want to be a distraction. You don't want to clash with other people that are also being creative in their playing. But what's tasteful is taking these things and working them in to serve a moment, to serve a song, to serve a truth of a song. Let's take a parallel to cooking. Let's say you have nutmeg in your pantry. Great ingredient. You wouldn't use it in an omelet, though. You would have to know how to use it. I'm going to put it on top of a coffee drink with whipped cream. Perfect. I'm going to put it in some coffee cake or maybe some cinnamon rolls, maybe some pancakes. Perfect. But it doesn't fit in everything. You're not going to put it on your spaghetti. So you've got to know how to use these things. But I'm teaching you them so that you know you have options. You can experiment with them. That's what the practice room is for. Make mistakes. Find things you don't like. Find things that don't work. And then use that to help you find places to fit these chord modifications. Help them to find places where they do work. And hopefully this gives you ideas of how to vary your playing, build interest. That whole synthesis bit at the end, that could be used with any number of these concepts. But the main concept I wanted to focus on today was chord modifications. So use those in your playing, and I'd love to hear what you do with them. Happy practicing, and have a great week.